Dave, training this morning, did everyone sort of pull up all right? Tex was saying yesterday he was a bit sore after a pretty brutal game on Sunday. Is everyone all right?
Yeah, I believe everyone's pulled up really well. Obviously it was a pretty tough game, and as every week is in this competition. But we obviously go through our normal process and recover, and have a run around later this afternoon. But yeah, as far as I know, everyone's pulled up really well.
A lot of positives obviously to take out of that. I know it was a scrappy game, only 12 goals kicked, but a lot of positives you got to take out of that win over the Dockers. Yeah,
look, it was a bit of a unique game the way it unfolded. Particularly in the first half, it was clearly very low scoring. A lot of pressure around the ball. Both teams really defended well. So from our point of view, we just hung in the arm wrestle, which was a real positive for us. And then we knew that at some point in the game there was going to be, would open up a little bit and that we'd get an opportunity. And, late in the third quarter, I think we kicked 3 goals in about 5 or so minutes. And that's all what it was in the end that got us the victory. So we understood the type of game it was going to be. We embraced it, and really pleasing that we got the result.
What was the main message after the game?
Well, what I just said, really, the main message was, understanding the type of game that we were in. And, Freo, they're a quality side. They've been playing really well. They defend really well. So we knew that going into the game, and just embracing that challenge, and then taking our opportunity when we got it. And it did take till later in the game, but being able to take that opportunity and then and see it out in the end.
Are you happy? Are you proud of the way that the team is now able to win ugly?
Yeah, look, I think that's really important. It's such an even competition. It's so competitive. You're not always going to get things to go your way. So I guess when the momentum swings against you, it's about maintaining your defence and making sure that teams don't get through you. And to the boys' credit, the last 3 weeks we've been able to do that. We saw in the first quarter against Gold Coast a similar type thing: high pressure, low scoring, hang in there, and we know if we keep hanging in there that our ball movement will start to flow, and we're able to get the ball in our half, which is really important to how we play.
Expecting a different proposition Saturday night then, Dave?
Oh, not too dissimilar. Port are a fantastic side. They've been going really well. They've got a group who play for each other and who play their role really well. So it's no different to most weeks in this game. It's going to be a real challenge. We've got to make sure we win the ball at the source. That's what's driven our game the last 3 weeks. So if we do that, we'll give ourselves every opportunity. But we're not underestimating Port. They've started the season really well.
Winning the ball at the source, how much more challenging is that going to be for Rob coming up against Ryder and Lycett, do you think?
Yeah, look, it's a huge challenge for Rob, but we back him in to give a good account of himself. We've seen over the last 3 weeks, he's in such a short period of time, he's developed really at a high level. His competitiveness around the ball, once it hits the deck as well, is outstanding. We saw on the weekend he was able to have a real influence for us. So huge challenge for him, but the type of character that he is, he'll embrace it, he'll go after it, and we certainly back him in to get the job done this week.
Would you see it as one area, given the experience of the other 2 guys, that they could really take advantage, given Riley's only played a handful of games?
Oh, look, as I said, we back Riley into the hilt because we understand the work that he's done. We've seen behind the scenes how much work he's put in over a number of years to get his opportunity, and the type of person he is. He's a driven character, really competitive, as I said. So, we back him in no matter what the challenge that he faces. And seeing his development over the last few weeks, I think certainly more to come from the way that he can. We see his follow up once the ball hits the ground. It's at a really high level. So we're pretty excited that he can keep developing along that path.
What does it say, Dave, about the team that guys like Source go out, Josh, and guys come in and perform, and maybe when they're fit again, it's actually they're not walk-up starts?
Yeah. Look, it's critical to have that selection pressure, to have the drive from particularly our Sandford team underneath, guys in really good form. If if you look at the teams at the end of the year who go deep into September, they've got that pressure from underneath, and they've had that all year. So we're trying to develop that. Our Sandful side is in terrific form, going really well. Our young players are really developing at a fast rate. So look, it's critical to driving the performance of the AFL team, and there's no secret behind that. So we've got to maintain it.
Do you think there's a way Josh can get back in the side without dropping Himmelberg?
Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, that's not my call to make, but I think Josh is a highly valued member of our group, and he's going to have a key role going forward. There's no doubt about that, and I'm glad I'm not in that position where I have to make those decisions, because it's pretty difficult.
Why do you think there is no doubt about that?
Oh, look, we've seen Josh's quality, over a number of years as a player, what he brings to our group. So obviously he's working on a few things that he needs to work on, as we all are. But there's no doubt of that Josh's influence and value, particularly as a leader of this club as well. So it's only a matter of time before we see him delivering, what he can in the AFL system.
Brody said a few weeks ago when Bryce was dropped, and then following on when Josh was dropped, that dropping of a big name didn't really have an impact on the group. It's just, you just keep going about your business, and one guy comes out and one guy comes in. When you look at the way that players give feedback to guys that do get dropped, is there a little sense of frustration that they aren't performing the way that they can?
Oh, look, obviously we want everyone to be performing, at their peak, but it's a difficult game. It's super competitive. I guess guys being left out of the team gets a lot of airtime externally, but internally we understand that if we want to get to where we want to get to as a footy club, it takes 40 players on our list. Match committee select a 22 each week to I guess best represent us for that week, and that changes all the time. So it's this whole notion of you only need your 22 or your 25 or where you're going to get you is pretty inaccurate. It's our whole list. It's our whole squad of 40 that, as I said, right down from the young rookies who are driving the selection pressure. It requires everyone, and that's the way we look at it.
On that point, how important is Luke Brown getting a match under his belt, and how is he, and when do you think he'll start pushing the AFL selection?
Yeah, so Brownie obviously came through the game really well on Friday night. That's a decision for match committee now, but as far as I know, he's pulled up really well. He's done a lot of work behind the scenes, so if he was to get the call, he'd be certainly ready to go, and we'd back Brownie in. So as I said, that's not my decision. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, because it's pretty difficult.
What do you like about Showdowns, or what don't you like?
No, I love Showdowns. It is another home and away game, but there's something else behind it, and it does mean a bit more for everyone in the state. So as a player, you feel that, you understand that, and I suppose over the time learnt to embrace it as well, and enjoy the week, until we run out Saturday night and lock horns in a super competitive match. So it's pretty exciting to be a part of it.
Do you have a favourite moment or memory?
Oh, look, I've got a few. On the spot, my first showdown, I'll never forget that. We I think we were down to 17 fit men by the end of the game, and we ended up winning by a goal. And that was only my second game of footy, and it was I'll never forget that moment, and just the atmosphere, the hostility, the crowd. I think it was an away showdown as well. So look, absolutely love them, and can't wait for this week.
Are you wary of the response about what Adelaide's going to give after, especially that first quarter was really poor against Collingwood, and they were given a bit of a spray at quarter time? Are you expecting them to come out really, fight up on the back of an 8-day break as well?
Yeah, we expect them to come out regardless of what happened last week. They're a super proud group. They're highly competitive, and we've seen they've introduced some young talent this year who have really developed for them. So look, it's a really good challenge for our group where we're at. We feel like the last few weeks we've got our game back moving towards where we want to get to and how we want to play. And this week is another super challenge for us.
You obviously shook a few, I suppose, not demons off, but obviously Port won the first one last year by a kick. You guys won the second one by a kick with a bit of, JJ's goal maybe brushing the post. Do you feel like this rivalry is sort of as close as it's ever been?
Look, yeah, I suppose, and people always say it all the time, it doesn't really matter how both teams are going in the big picture scheme of things. It always is a tight game, and the recent history suggests that it will be again this week. And then you add into the fact that both teams are in a similar position, both at 4 and 3. Both have played some good footy, but haven't consistently done it each week. So, yeah, look, we're obviously in similar positions, and not that has too much bearing on how it's going to go, but I think it's all set up for a really competitive game of footy.
Dave, do you think you can be a little braver with your ball movement? At times against Freo, it looked like a concerted effort to sort of go around the corridor, given Freo's tendency to sort of drop men back and congest it. Do you think maybe that can open Port up a little bit more daring?
Yeah, look, that's part of the way we want to play. We want to try and be aggressive and take the game on, and but sometimes you've got to come up against who you're playing and the style that they're playing, and try and counteract that. So it's not always it's easier said than done to move the footy the way you want to move it, but there'll be opportunities for us to move the footy quick and take some risks, and every game presents with those opportunities, and we just got to be good enough to take them. And as I said before, if we don't win enough of our share at the source, then that becomes pretty irrelevant in the end. So make sure we get the ball in our half. That's going to be our big focus, and go from there.
If you work for TAB, who would be favourite?
Look, I'm not too sure. I don't work for the TAB, so I'm glad I don't have to set those odds.
I think you guys are. For all the sort of talk about 1 and 3 early in the year, is it a bit overblown now that you guys are 6th and you sort of settled in the 8 and looking to push further?
Oh, look, I suppose there's a lot of noise externally about where we were at, and we haven't made wholesale changes to how we play, but we have sort of shifted our focus a little bit on what we need to hone in on to actually get results. And we've seen the last few weeks that when we bring those areas and we focus on those areas and we actually execute them, that we can get results. So we'll just continue on that path, and as I said, really competitive year. You can't look too far ahead, and we can't be doing that.
Why is there a deviation from those things?
Oh, look, I think it wasn't so much a deviation. I think obviously early in the year, you're sort of working out what's working for you and what's not working for you as a team, and after a few games where we didn't get the result we wanted to, we were able to sort of sit back and say, well, what do we actually need to focus on, and hone in on that, and that's been really pleasing how we've made that slight shift, and the results have followed from that.